Well, someone that's full of life, he's got it in abundance, is the fearless and charismatic Conservative MP for Lichfield, Michael Fabricant. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Mark. I remember that helmet because you gave me a lift once back to the House of Commons on the back of your scooter, and I think that was the very helmet I wore.
I passed my helmet to you and you took it readily.
Yes, well, we won't go into that, will we? But it's legal nowadays.
Michael, it's great to have you back on the show, and I see you're wearing a sheep tonight.
Well, it's very comfortable and it's a bit cold up here in Lichfield, so it's keeping me nice and warm, but it's a pink sheep.
Well, it suits you very well. Let me warm you with, I think, what is positive political news for the government. I know that Labour are being predicted to achieve a 300-seat majority at the next election. I think that's wide of the mark. Inflation has likely peaked, at least we can hope it has. The recession potentially shallower than once feared. It's all to play for, isn't it?
I think that's right. I mean, as I tell colleagues, actually, and journalists who do agree with me, you know what? Keir Starmer is no Tony Blair. He doesn't inspire people. And it's when you look at the polling, it's actually very weak, the support for the Labour Party and Keir Starmer personally. But the Conservative Party's got to deliver first. People will just vote for Labour on the basis, well, they can't be any worse than the Conservatives if we don't deliver. I mean, you ask, is this the verge of the recovery? I'm going to do my Winston Churchill impersonation here. I'll read it. But like Winston Churchill, now, this is not the end. It's not even the beginning of the end. But it is perhaps the end of the beginning. And that's what I think. But we've got to sort out the borders. As you say, we've got this multi-point plan to stop people from crossing the channel and dissuading people from using people traffickers. But it's all very well talking about it, but we've got to deliver. We've got to get the economy straight. Now, the governor of the Bank of England, as he said, is saying that inflation has peaked. And now, look, you know, the Germany and the European Union have got higher inflation than we have. And Germany's been in recession for the last 6 months. But that doesn't cut any ice with the electorate because they're saying, we're interested in what's happening here. So we've got to hold our nerve because I think the third thing that we've got to deliver is unity. And, you know, sometimes I hear one or two colleagues of mine, look, I didn't back Rishi Sunak, and Rishi knows that, but he is the Prime Minister. And I think all Conservative MPs have to support him now.
How did that 5-point plan go down among Tory backbenchers? And how is it going down in Lichfield?
Well, it's going down well, providing, as I say, we can deliver. Look, we're concentrating at the moment on Albanians, but, you know, there are Somalis and others too. And there's a different question there because they do come from difficult countries. So the question is, can we send them back to Somalia? Probably not. But there is, of course, a point in international law that actually, if you're in a safe country, you're not escaping from France. France is not a country that people have to fear their lives in. And this is a whole issue about where we get to. Can we send them to Rwanda? Are people going to say this is in breach of human rights? And do we need a change in the Human Rights Act? And I think we do. This doesn't mean our pulling out of the European Court, a court which incidentally we helped set up. But it does mean having the same structure that they have, for example, in Sweden, where they expel immigrants. And I don't think anybody's going to say that Sweden is a particularly right-wing or evil country.
If, Michael, we anticipate an election in, for example, May or October of 2024, where do you think we will be numbers-wise in terms of those illegal crossings? We know that they've peaked at around 1,000 a day in the height of summer. Where do you anticipate those numbers will be in a couple of years' time? And what is the right figure in terms of your constituents and what they would expect?
Well, I don't know what they'll be, Mark, but what I do know is this. They've got to come down or we'll get a Labour government. And if we get a Labour government, I'm pretty sure those numbers will go up. Because even when Keir Starmer occasionally talks tough, about illegal immigration. I sit there in the House of Commons and I look behind Keir Starmer and I see all those ranks of Labour MPs shaking their heads. Oh no, Keir, you're not going to get this legislation through under our watch. And that's the problem with the Labour Party, of course. And that's why you don't actually hear Keir Starmer coming up with any plans, because he's not frightened about the Conservative Party shooting those ideas down. He's frightened of his own backbenchers shooting those ideas down. So once we deliver, once we get the economy straight, and providing we can have unity, I still think, given that there isn't this huge support for Keir Starmer in the country, I actually think we could win another parliamentary term. But we've got to deserve it first.
Why do you think Labour are so far ahead? Because, many viewers that I receive emails from say, well, Labour couldn't do a worse job than the Tories. We've got industrial strife, we've got illegal migrant crossings, and we've got an economic crisis. It's not a good look for the incumbent at the moment.
No, it's not. I mean, look, I would have kept Boris Johnson. I actually think Boris Johnson was doing a good job. OK, we know where things went wrong with him, but actually he was getting things done. We got Brexit done. We got COVID done. You know all that already. And, if Keir Starmer had his way, we'd probably still be in lockdown. But I can understand why people feel the way they do. We get rid of Boris. Liz Truss came in. How long did she last? About 5 weeks. Then Rishi came in, and a lot of Conservatives who are members of the party said, well, hang on for a minute. We didn't actually vote for Rishi. And, they feel very, very disenfranchised. But actually, when push comes to shove, in a year, 18 months' time, almost could be 2 years' time, legally, I'm not saying it's going to be then, but legally there needn't be a general election till January 2025. And I think it was Harold Wilson who said a week is a long time in politics, great Labour politician. Well, I can tell you a couple of years is even longer. So let's just see how the economy goes. But if we don't get it straight, we won't win, and we won't deserve to win.
Michael, the problem for the government at the moment is that it's not Rishi Sunak running the country, it's Mick Lynch of the RMT union.
I think it's the civil servants running the country. That's the problem at the moment. We've got to make sure that actually it's the government that runs the country and not the civil servants holding us back. And I probably now get all the civil servants coming out on strike too. No, Mick Lynch is an interesting character, and a number of people have been saying on GB News what his background is, and his love for Marxism and international overthrow of democratically elected governments and all the rest of it. But we've got to stand firm. At the end of the day, it's costing the train drivers a lot of money being constantly on strike. I'm always one for compromise, but I think at the same time, we've got to have modern ways of running the train system. The days of having multiple guards and all the rest of it are long gone with steam trains. But of course, Mick Lynch would have it that, we've got to stay exactly as we were 100 years ago. Nobody wants to lose their jobs, and it is the job of a trade union, I suppose, to keep jobs. But I'm sure it will be resolved, and people, will understand that we had to do what we had to do. But I think if we decide to give in completely to Mick Lynch, then people will say, well, in that case, that all the sacrifice wasn't worth it.
Finally, Michael, you are a popular and dedicated member of Parliament, very, very focused on your constituents, but you will get a break over Christmas. What are your plans for the 25th?
Oh, I'm going walking in the mountains with a friend of mine in Spain. It's going to be freezing. I won't be doing it in shorts, but normally I'm actually in the UK on Christmas Day. But I'm flying to Malaga and then going up into the mountains beyond there. And a friend said to me, if you come back with tats and a wickerwork donkey, you'll never speak to me again.